I visited Kibbutz Be'eri about 10 days after October 7th. When I arrived, it was total devastation. What has stayed with me in the last 2 years since then is not what I saw there, but more the smells. It was an overpowering smell of, human flesh. I really think people need to understand that. The smells of burning flesh, of dead bodies. There was still dead animals, house pets. And I will also add the sounds, because it wasn't the sounds of a community. It was the sounds of war. There were, explosions and gunfire in the background. There was this feeling that any second there could be a siren and a rocket fire. It was really the early days. I've heard so many stories. I interviewed release hostage Keith Siegel, and his story has stayed with me since that interview, which was a few months ago, where he told me that he kept quiet when the terrorists began asking the hostages if they had any additional citizenship. And he told me that he kept quiet. He didn't want them to know that he was an American citizen. He didn't want to be released and leave his wife, Aviva, behind in captivity. In 2014, there was a 3-week war between Israel and Hamas in Gaza. People were unnerved during that conflict. That was the first time they realized that tunnels could be dug underneath the border fence into their communities. So there was a lot of concern about that. But in the years between 2014 and 2023, the Israeli government and the Israeli army worked on building a high-tech fence. I was taken on many tours by the army, who took me along that fence and showed me, how amazing it was and how it could prevent any kind of attack from coming through. So I think the people that lived there felt that the army was taking care of business. They felt secure in where they lived, in the same way that us living in Jerusalem, where there's many terrorist attacks and bus bombings, etc. going on, we feel secure in the knowledge that our army has the capability to stop these from happening in advance. When the US Embassy opened in Jerusalem, there was also big protests in Gaza along the border fence. They called it the Great March of Return. During that time, the army was there, and they used this high-tech fence and capabilities to prevent the people from crossing into Israel. So, the people there have had experience. They know where they are, and they know that the army is there to protect them. From the people that I spoke to on Be'eri during my last visit, there is a lot of disappointment, still a lot of anger about October 7th and what happened on that day, and the fact that the army took so long to arrive. Many of them talk about how they spent hours and hours in their safe rooms or hiding from the terrorists, wondering, where is the army? Why is no one here? Where is the government? Why is no one coming to rescue us? So there is this feeling that they were majorly let down. It's going to take a long time, I think, for them to deal with that feeling. For all of us in Israel to deal with that feeling. When I visited Be'eri a few weeks ago, it was very visible, the signs of physical rebuilding. The new neighborhood with like 120 new houses. Also, the house where Pessi Cohen lived, which was one of the big events on Kibbutz Be'eri, where 13 Israelis were killed, has been destroyed, and in its place, new houses are building there. So there is a sense that, this new rising of houses can create something new. But at the same time, the people are not ready to go back there while the war is still going on. And while Hamas is still present there, people are not ready to go back. But the kibbutz itself has not made any decisions yet, which is a sign that they are still immersed in this massacre. They are still they're still reliving it while they are still hostages in Gaza, whether they are alive or dead. They can't move on with their lives until they come back. One thing that always strikes me in Israel, and I've lived here for quite a long time, is this feeling of resilience. I remember when I went on October 17th, being told by the army that it might take another year before Be'eri could be rebuilt. And I remember feeling like, wow, that's really crazy, because, whenever there's a terrorist attack or a bus bombing or something that happens in Israel, within hours, Israelis just go back to regular life. And I thought, well, how can it be that this community is so badly destroyed that it will take them a year to rebuild? And now we're 2 years later and they still haven't recovered from that day. So what I find most amazing about Israelis is that it might take them a few hours, it might take a few days, it might take a few years, but in the end of the day, Israelis have nowhere else to go. So they're going to go back and they're going to rebuild and they're going to make it beautiful again. And in a few years from now, who knows how long it will take, you'll be able to visit places like Be'eri and Nir Oz and Kfar Aza, and you'll be able to learn about what happened there, but you'll see people living their lives again.